All right, we're back. You're listening to the Veterinary Ledger podcast. Here we turn numbers into decisions and help practice owners build clarity, confidence, and lasting success. Excited to have Nick Sherman here, the newest owner of Richmond Animal Hospital over in Vermont. So, talk to us, Nick. Talk to us about you just got through an acquisition. I guess let's talk through the acquisition process. How was it for you? What was the goods, the bads, and everything in between?
Yeah, thank you again for everybody for the time. And just a little about me. I've been in the industry for about 11 years. I've been interested in ownership since vet school. So prior to that, so I always had an eye towards this. So even during vet school and then first BMX tours or when you went out to Western Veterinary Conference, I was always in on those meetings, listening to banks, listening to the big simians and all the different opportunities that were out there. So I've definitely touched a little bit of all of that. My most recent experience was much more grassroots, though. I've communicated with different brokers about different areas. Each piece I felt almost felt a little bit too pre-cookie cutter, and I didn't quite have the opportunity to necessarily put my own timestamp or my own spin on everything. So I ended up actually reaching out to a classmate of mine that had recently, just from the ground up, built their own practice. They worked with Granite Peak very closely. So they encouraged us to reach out to them. And honestly, once that connection started, I felt like I had a really good foundation to reach out to clinics and reach out to different organizations and not necessarily have the broker in my corner. And that was a huge thing for me. I'm an independent owner. I absolutely see the value in brokers. I see the value in corporate, but I, as a brand, and much more locally owned independent. So Granite Peak really allowed me to explore that, gave you the resources to kind of do the valuation piece, do the piece that does this practice make sense for me and my family and the long-term projection. And then obviously we had to piece the rest of the team together kind of with coordinating with legal counsel and different things. But overall, to me, to have that foundation of somebody that you can say, like, does this make sense? Or am I just looking at this emotionally, was really helpful. In terms of grassroots, that's exactly how I got connected to the practice that I currently bought. I ended up volunteering locally in Vermont, and a friend that I volunteer with knew their veterinarian was selling a practice. And funny enough, I had actually had a broker that I was working with kind of reach out because I thought that was a formal way to do it. I had a broker reach out to this practice and never got an answer back, never heard back. But through this volunteer group, he was open to the conversation, and yeah, the rest is history. We were able to come up with a creative way that allowed him to feel valued in his practice, get kind of an initial amount today. And as long as we hit some benchmark numbers, it'll kind of be a future payment and I think that works beneficially for both of us. If we do well, he does well. And I really like that as an opportunity, and particularly too for somebody, it becomes a challenge to compete against corporate and the parent marketplace to buy practices. So to find one that's open and willing to have that conversation was really unique and nice. And again, to have the team behind you was essential and necessary.
No, that's critical. That's critical. And I love that. I love what you said there. I guess talk to me more about the decision-making process. Was there, outside the numbers, because obviously the numbers had to speak for the opportunity, but was there a list of a top one or top three things like this practice to make it has to have this, whether it be the footprint, the location, the people infrastructure? Was there any non-negotiables for you?
Yeah, I did some. I've worked in very rural communities. I've worked in more affluent communities. To me, one of the big pieces, I've kind of burnt out with the emergency medicine. So working all day and then being on all night and then doing that weekend after weekend, it got to be tough. So an important thing for my family was to be in proximity to a resource that could allow us to provide quality emergency medicine for our clients but not burn out the staff on the other end. I'm really trying to build a practice that's very focused on allowing all staff members, whether it's veterinarian or technician or even CSR, to work to the top of their scope. Education, communication, but not burning them out either is an important part of that. And the emergency clinic proximity was important to me. I ended up in a location that I could really see corporate was having a really big impact. And I thought, and I could feel there were a lot of local coffee shops starting up, a lot of local breweries, a lot of local was really starting to take hold again. And that really seemed to be part of that movement. So I could identify the brand I was trying to create and community that we kind of were focused on really seemed to be in alignment. I had looked at a couple other communities that seemed like they're more big box store centered, and I don't know that would really the right fit for us. I tried to align the practice that I want to build with the community that we're humanity.
I think that speaks volumes. And you seem to be very thoughtful and meticulous in everything that you do. Were there any surprises, right? Because I feel like you've asked lots of questions because you wanted to be prepared. Was there anything that kind of snuck up on you and you're like, oh, I didn't think about that one?
Yeah, credit card machine. I had to scramble at the last minute because I didn't know credit card machines were tied to an individual as opposed to a practice.
Oh, that's
So at
day
the
one. That's
last,
like moment one. You got to have
yeah,
those.
yeah. To get a good deal on a credit card machine doesn't happen overnight. And not just the purchasing of it, it's the capturing of credit cards, transactions through credit cards. That one definitely snuck up on me because it is a negotiation with these companies. And I think the piece too is just kind of touch everything, touch the software, touch the label maker, whatever it is, like figure out kind of take a little inventory of like how old things are, expectations on them. If the thing's 10 years old, so yeah, it's already probably close to the end of its life. It just kind of gives you a bit of an idea of what to expect down the road. But I think you can learn a lot, I think, just by sitting in the clinic and talking to people a lot of the times. That was a big piece to me, is just spending time in the building goes a long way.
Learning the ins and outs. So when you look at all these things and you're getting nitty gritty now. What are the big projects on your horizon? What is that you want to make your own?
Yeah, big question. The building. So where it's kind of alluded to that a little bit with the real estate, I think is my biggest headache right now. It's a old 1860s farmhouse that was very small that they'd done 2 additions on. There's only 2 exam rooms. I'm the type of doctor that likes to have 3 or 4 exam rooms going at once. I think it just works with the flow, and you can kind of handle those sick appointments, the euthanasia appointments, but not get behind. You can really have that flow going. So the small space is something that I need to put a lot of attention to figure out, can we make the current space usable, or do we need to look elsewhere? So exploring those opportunities with some architects and seeing what's best.
Just jump into a brand new opportunity. We're already thinking about another nice major project. I love it. I love it. You talk a lot about, staying local. And I agree. Corporate has a place in vet med, but certainly the personality practice is hard to replace. How do you stay local? What initiatives do you bring day one to show Richmond and the community that, this is how we're going to operate within the community to go alongside everything else that they're doing locally?
Yeah, and if I could give 2 other quick shout outs, Granite Peak put me on to Empower as a HR team and Sounder Benefits. Those are 2 other, what I would say, are phenomenal resources and able to, as Jared said, jump into idea of an architectural idea, because I have these other 2 great companies that have been resources for me. So I think we have an awesome benefits package coming out. I think we've got a really good HR team. Our handbook looks, I'm very proud of it. And that's a funny thing to say, right? Say you're proud of your handbook. But I think we're doing some really different things here. They helped us kind of look at current benchmarks, see where we could offer something different, but unique, but good. So those were really phenomenal companies that helped us do that. One of the things that we're really proud of, my wife and I, at volunteering, and we really think that volunteering helps with the fabric of any community. I think people that volunteer, you interact with people that you might not otherwise interact with. You spend time doing something that hopefully makes you feel good because you're giving back or doing something different. So we're offering 3 days pay in a year to volunteer. And we're not strict on what you do. Like if you like planting trees or you like working at the shelter or you work at the pediatric oncology camp or whatever it is that works for you, we want you to be able to fill your bucket up in that time. We hope you come back and tell us about it at our next round the next day. So that's a really big thing that I think it just really aligns with who we are, and it aligns with the staff that we want to hire. We want people that are interested in that. It seems to be very well received. So we're very excited about that offering, but that's just a kind of a little snippet of who we are and what we're trying to make here.
I think that's huge. It's huge that, you know, you're staying extremely competitive with, you know, you hear that all the time. How can I compete with corporate benefits? Well, align yourself with great advisors that can get creative and marry good plans together, but that also go above and beyond and do initiatives like these, you know, 3 days paid. That's a huge, huge bonus and really speaks to the brand that you know, continually promoting and say.
Yeah, and I think even if you live in, I think in an urban area, you often have your little small communities that you still spend most of your time in. And I think if you are able to be that practice that either you're rural or urban or whatever, but your staff is out there volunteering and giving back. And again, we want it to be the things that invigorate the staff. We're not telling you what you have to do. I just think it goes a long way for everybody being happier and more positive. Again, filling up the bucket where we can.
And is the staff, right? So this is a new staff for you, an old team for them. Are they going along with it? They're drinking the Kool-Aid. We're excited about changes and happy
Yeah, good
for
question.
new ideas.
Yeah, I absolutely, it was one of we're going to have to do a little bit of building a plane while flying it situation. I'm a very honest, I tend to be honest, level-headed and even keeled on those things. So it's the type of ideas of like really utilizing them to say like, what is it you're interested in? How can I use you? And make the pivots towards the next thing. Like I made our CSR lead. We're going to be transferring PIMS, and I you know, why would you ever do that? But I think we need to be better. I think we need to have a better. So I kind of let her spearhead that, and she's really excited about the opportunity, and I think you get some degree of buy-in too. So yeah, we're all very excited about the opportunities.
I think if you don't mind me sharing, I don't even know what I'm going to share, but I think what excited me most is like you're buying a practice. That's major financial commitment. But what I saw immediately was your willingness to then strategically spend more. So, hey, I've just bought the practice. I've noticed, you know, there is no IT infrastructure here. We are very weak on security systems. We got to now 1 week, 2 week in, put more reinvestment even into practice. So I guess walk me through that mindset, because that's a lot, because you now have debt. You have debt and you're staring at a loan. You're still willing to spend more. Is that just a personality that you have, or what got you to say, no, this is best for the practice short and long term. I got to put some more dollars in here.
Yeah, great question. I think to me, the big piece is, right, there's some foundational things that you need in that practice. You need to have exam rooms that you can vaccinate animals and take good care of them, do surgery if that's what you're into. So you have some of those foundational pieces, but as a business owner, it's my responsibility. The buck stops with me to ensure that we have good security. Those other kind of quote unquote non-essentials are also robust and good for our clients, for our staff, for everybody else. So I just view it as my responsibility, and I consider IT somewhat like a fire alarm. How it nobody loves to fix it when it's chirping, but when it's chirping, you got to fix it. So I kind of view it as that. So this fire alarm was chirping, so I need to fix it. So here we go.
Makes perfect sense. What are you most excited about? Wish your life away. Wish your life away. We'll go 3 years out, 5 years out, whether it's your practice or vet med. What direction are you headed, or is industry headed, that really lights you up?
Yeah, I think to me, both things I'm really, really excited about is the team. I'm a big believer in working to the top of your scope. We all have those things that we don't love doing on a day-to-day basis. but they pay the bills and they also are important parts of the job. But you should also be doing those things that make you happy and excited. And you're like, you look at next Wednesday's schedule and you're like, I've got this surgery coming up or whatever it is. You need to be able to, again, fill your bucket up at the end of the day. I think talking to the team that we do have, and one of the things I really am excited about in veterinary medicine is utilizing techs more efficiently. I've seen so many practices that just let them or just kind of resign them to starting the appointment and typing up some notes and filling some lab requests, and that's kind of it. There's so much more. They have so many skills. They bring so much to the table. They have so many interests too. So why can't we leverage them in a way that can even broaden the scope of our care here with the team that we have? Like, so that's one of the things I'm really excited about, working with our staff and just seeing where they're going to end up, because I think we have a great team, and I think they can really work to the top of their scope, and I'm excited to see where they land.
Man, in all the podcast recordings, that might be the most adamant head nod you got out of a Megan with that comment there on the text. I mean, she was on board. She was ready to go.
We need them, right? They're the backbone. Before we leave, though, I want to ask have you had the moment where you're the adult in the room and you're suddenly like, oh my gosh, this is mine?
Yeah, honestly, I think one of the things that caught me off guard, I guess the time I would use, was a client was walking out a day or two ago, and they said, we talked about the transition. So the current owner has been here 35 years, and she said, thank you for taking over. We need this service in our community. And I thought that was interesting for somebody in so many places that if this dried up, they drive somewhere else and get that. But to really see that the community is looking at this as a need and a service that they can rely on, and it can be part of them, that just resonates with what I'm trying to build in terms of like a community focused, a community resource. Well, you can't be a vet practice without clients. I guess that's my parent moment of reflecting on like, wow, we're doing something here.
That's a good moment.
Really appreciate the time. Couldn't be more excited for you, for the community, for Richmond, and excited to kind of have a front row seat for everything you're about to accomplish short and long term. So thanks for the time today, enjoying the podcast, and keep after it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.